Right, so following up from the sinking of the British cargo ship the Rubymar, last week the first recorded fatalities in a Houthi missile strike on shipping were reported as a result of their ongoing blockade of the Red Sea, occurring as they struck another ship, the cargo vessel MV True Confidence, which killed 3 sailors and injured 4 more. Naturally, the condemnation has come thick and fast from the West, hypocritical as ever, since Western-backed strikes in the Red Sea have so far seen the deaths of 11 Houthis, not counting those killed in US and UK strikes on the Yemeni mainland, which led to the US and UK, of course, getting added to the shipping block list of the Houthis through the Red Sea. These deaths were utterly preventable, though, not just because ending the Israeli onslaught and genocide in Gaza will see the blockade end, but also because it has been made abundantly clear to the US and UK and all Israeli-bound shipping from wherever that they will not be allowed to pass. The warnings were given, even in this instance, not to try and get through the Red Sea because they will be attacked. Yemen, the Houthis are right now being pointed at and accused of interfering in global maritime law, but on the other hand they are actually upholding humanitarian and human rights laws that the West, the UK and US particularly, both facing days in The Hague, courtesy of the likes of South Africa and Nicaragua, are not. It's time more focus was spent on stopping Israel than stopping Yemen, because more lives will be saved all around that way, and all this really exposes is that human life really isn't anywhere close to the top of the agenda here. Right, so the Houthis' attacks have sadly now, despite weeks of successful actions not resulting in the loss of any human life, now resulted in the deaths of 3 sailors, apparently on the Barbados-flagged, Liberian-registered bulk carrier True Confidence, which was bound for Jeddah in Saudi Arabia on the Red Sea coast, having come from China. Knowing US shipping traffic is being blocked by Yemen right now, quite why this ship had to go to Jeddah via the Red Sea and not dock alternatively at another port of Saudi Arabia's on the Persian Gulf coast, I don't know. Perhaps they feared Iranian issues, that side of things. But Yemen are far more vociferous in their blockading, and it isn't like the vessel wasn't warned when it reached the Gulf of Aden, or beforehand, for that matter. Now, the True Confidence is a Barbados-flagged, Liberian-registered vessel, which is what we were told. It was bound for Saudi Arabia. So why was it attacked? It wasn't Israeli-bound. It isn't a UK or US vessel. So why was it targeted? Why was it on Yemen's block list? You might have noted that the block list also extends to Israel-affiliated shipping. And the MV True Confidence was, until very, very recently, literally days prior to this strike, owned by Oaktree Capital, a US global asset management firm. So US owned. Certainly still was when it left China, it would appear. An asset company owned itself by US Democrat Party donor Howard Marks, key funder of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in 2016. And of the assets that Oaktree manage, a large proportion of them are allegedly Israeli assets. So while people fixate on this being a clear sign of Houthis attacking ships not on their block list, that isn't actually true. Did they change the ownership of this vessel partway through the journey? Was this ownership changed to get it through the Red Sea and then change ownership back afterwards? Was it a bit of a cunning plan? Well, the new owners are the Liberian company True Confidence Shipping, not too on the nose, and operated by Greek-based 3rd January Maritime. Neither company having much by way of a history after a cursory search online. Can't find out very much about either company. So who knows? And perhaps that is why the Houthis decided to tell this ship to turn away, and when it didn't, did it ignore them? But we know what happened next. Continuing to ignore the Houthis is not going to make the Red Sea more passable, and nor will, as this instance looks like, changing ownership partway through a journey to try and fool them. The change has happened so recently many maritime databases hadn't updated it yet, because that won't work either. Whether the sale is genuine and true or not, the optics to a suspicious person are what they are. And I dare say that is how the Houthis have taken this. Are these honestly the lengths some will go to for the sake of bloody Israel and excusing what they're doing? Well, the Houthis are not going to be joining that school of thought now or ever, and as I pointed out for multiple reasons in previous Houthi videos that I've made, they won't stop, and they can't be stopped by force. Not given who backs them, not given their never give up, never surrender attitudes, and their determination to stand up for and uphold international humanitarian law, which is actually what their actions are there doing. Aside from this latest shipping incident, drone strikes by the Houthis have increased, having now targeted 61 ships with 96 drone and missile attacks over the last 5 months. It's been reported today in the Jerusalem Post that the true confidence has now sunk, which would make it the second vessel the Houthis have now sank, though I haven't found another source to corroborate that at time of writing. Now, the Post is a conservative Israeli paper, similar to the Murdoch Times, I suppose, so you can understand why I want corroborating evidence from another source, for one, but it's also not a source I pay particular attention to in and of itself any other time either. However, it does give an idea of how the right wing would like to see the Houthis dealt with, following more drone attacks, more ship attacks, and promises of more to come. Because the one thing you can be assured of by such narratives is that telling Israel to stop and get out of Gaza doesn't seem to be on anybody's agenda to stop this. Instead, they would prefer to eradicate the Houthis as one option. Good luck. Nobody who has ever tried, and plenty have ever managed to do so. And it would likely bring Iran into a more proactive role if anybody did try to really up the ante against them, making matters in the Middle East even more unstable. Or to find a way to force them into adhering to international maritime law instead. Well, they've chosen humanitarian law and human rights and the right to life over maritime law. Right now in the Red Sea, the two are not mutually possible whilst Israel continues its genocide. The Houthis have chosen human life over economic impacts, as any right-thinking, sensible, sane person should and would. Unfortunately, too many countries on this planet seem to be led by people who believe otherwise. It's telling that right-wingers in the West think otherwise. The Houthis will not stop, not until Israel stops. That's what they've said from the beginning. The rest of the world need to get real, or more avoidable lives in the Red Sea are going to end up being lost. Meanwhile, of course, Joe Biden is busy building a port in the Mediterranean on the Gaza coast, isn't he? Where they've never been allowed to have one before. And Israel have also been building a road all the way across Gaza too. Is that port really for aid? Because I don't think so. And will that road end up meeting that port? Also coincidentally, for some nefarious reason. A port in Gaza that will be a military port and nobody will be able to oversee, with a road leading straight across Gaza, straight into Israel. Well, I can't imagine what sort of things they could transport that way that we wouldn't be able to see. Can you? Are you intrigued by this as well? You better watch this video recommendation next then. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.